Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us today. ProLiteracy New Readers Press welcomes you to this webinar. It's going to be on EnGen, which is one of our spectacular digital ESL programs. We're fortunate to have some practitioners, so you're not just hearing from me and Courtney. Courtney is our EnGen expert. She knows everything there is to know about EnGen. She's waving. I am a rep in 5 states in the mid-Atlantic, but these two folks, Joyce and Melinda, are experts in Virginia. They're customers, just like you guys here. They become friends and customers and business friends. Melinda and I just met at a conference and started talking about EnGen. We started talking about some of the funding that we offer to help people get started. And they took it and ran with it just like champions. And we're thrilled that they're giving us a little bit of time today to share what they've learned about the program with you all. And again, we are thrilled that you all are here. And thank you all for your time, energy, and patience today. So with that, I will turn it over to Courtney.
Hi, everyone. As Gary said, my name's Courtney. I work at New Readers Press as a digital account manager. Many of you I see coming up on the attendees list are current EnGen customers, and I know you well. So hello. Many of you, I hope to meet you soon, and we'll hear all about EnGen today from Melinda and Joyce both and their success at Chesterfield. So I'm going to kick off some questions. And Melinda and Joyce, whoever would like to respond, go ahead. You are using an adaptive learning platform called EnGen, as we know. What is the learning model that you are using in class, distance learning, core curriculum, and instructional supplement?
Right, I'll take that one, Courtney. Thank you all again for having us. We are actually using EnGen in a variety of ways and models. For our distance learning model, which is a completely independent, self-paced program for our students, EnGen is given to our lowest levels up to our highest levels. It's used as a supplement to their other distance learning materials, but for the upper levels, it's the core curriculum for their distance learning work that they do. When students are in distance learning due to time constraints, I do encourage them to study on EnGen only to earn their hours. They're finding that this is the best fit for their needs. For our regular classes, right now we just started with levels 5 and 6 using EnGen. Well, we started last February as an instructional supplement. Instructors may find a relevant lesson to use whole group, but most of our students who are not in distance learning use it for extra practice, and teachers also assign it for homework.
Great, thanks. And by the way, everybody, I'm going to go a little bit off script here. If there's any questions, feel free to send them in chat to Dan, and Dan will let us know. And if anyone's like me and they just have to know the answer right away, just speak out and we'll figure it out. And I'm going to apologize because I'm going to ask a question we were talking about before this began. Because of time, we're trying to keep it really tight, so we actually got the questions out. So if it sounds like I'm reading, it's because I am. EnGen is a platform for upskilling immigrants, refugees, and speakers of other languages with English language and workforce preparation skills. Tell us, Joyce and Melinda, please, about the learning outcomes you're seeing. Describe the measurable skill gains that matter most to you and your learners. Are they academic or more career focused?
Okay, well, thanks for having us again. I just want to say that, and I'll take this question. The EnGen platform is directly in line with the Chesterfield County Public School ESL mission statement of meeting the individual's needs, meeting the immediate needs and individual needs of English learners by providing equitable access to engaging, high-quality instruction. So through the English Immersion Program, English learners, and by using EnGen, are empowered to be global citizens equipped for success in school and beyond. So Melinda, if you don't mind just showing that first slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about MSGs.
Okay. So I don't know, everybody's from different places in the country, but I know MSGs are huge around here where we all live. So,
right. So those measurable skill gains, I mean, those of us that are aware of them and use them, we know that they're used when looking at funding and looking at program sustainability. In addition to the gains, here in Chesterfield, we dig a bit deeper and measure student growth as well. So looking at the slide here, in fall of 2022, before we started using EnGen, we had about, the number of measurable skill gains was about 4. And then in the spring, as you can see, the numbers after using EnGen, after the implementation, rose from 4 to 7. As I mentioned, we do growth and gains, but we do, when we use growth, we want to see, show the students that you might not have achieved a gain yet, but keep pushing, keep working hard. Growth is very important to them as well. So in the fall, as you can see, before we started using EnGen, the average point growth was 38 points. And it was amazing to us in the spring when we saw the, after the implementation of EnGen, the growth went up to 134 points. So as you can see, that was amazing for us to see and amazing for us to explain to the students. Okay.
How many students in total are we talking about? Somebody else?
Melinda, you want to take?
Sure. When we piloted last February, we had we were awarded about 50 seats. So in order to do that, to get the data for that, I had to have students that they had to be returning students with us in the fall, also in the spring, so we could get that before data. So that was probably about half of those seats, which was maybe 25 to 30 students from that data.
Well, and I will say that they have really grown the program. Every semester, it just grows and grows and continues to grow. So
that data is certainly exciting to see. Melinda and Joyce, could you share with everyone who's joined with us today, like what brought you to EnGen initially? And what were your goals for learners, which you've touched on quite a bit, obviously, that growth and the progression of student learning. But what group of learners are using EnGen? So just starting off with kind of your introduction to EnGen.
Okay, well, I was initially drawn to EnGen when I joined a vendor showcase like Gary was talking about. It was at a Virginia conference last year called BASE. And I met Gary from New Readers Press, and we planned a future virtual meeting to just discuss different new platforms, as well as the Mobile Learning Fund from ProLiteracy, which Gary mentioned. I was initially looking for something for our upper levels. We have used platforms that did not always meet their academic needs. Sometimes the free platforms or platforms kind of focused on needs for lower levels, but I wanted to find something for them. And when Gary took the time, we had different meetings, definitely more than one, just introducing EnGen and the different things about it. I immediately love the platform, the straightforward ease of navigation, onboarding, and so much more that we'll share a little bit later. But my goal for learners at that time was just really to provide them with something that they wanted to do outside of the classroom that they found helpful and useful, not just because we were assigning it, but something that they really enjoyed and that they felt that they could use it just outside of class and really learn from it. Right now, we're using it with, like I said, the distance learning students, all levels of distance learning, and our upper levels 5 and 6. But with each semester, we plan to add small groups at a time. I think that's best as far as budget funding, but just doing groups at a time is what our goal is right now.
Yeah. And I love the word enjoying, that is engagement, learning for fun and enjoyable, and EnGen is fun and it's enjoyable. And I think that all is one big circle of where we see those gains.
And I'm going to interject, if I may, just because we have a couple of questions. And one was, could you please put the slide back up because someone missed the title? And the other was, how many full-time employees manage your 30 students in the EnGen pilot?
I'll put this slide up again. So just for those right now, since like I said, we started with a small group like that original when we got the Mobile Learning Fund. I manage that, and we have teachers, all of our admin team, there's 4 of us on the admin team, and then we have 2 teachers that have accounts, like it's called the command center, to look at the data, look at, particular classes or feature groups of students. But I know we'll get into more later. I feel like all of the questions are kind of interconnected, but it's so easy. Like I don't have to, but I love looking at everyone's engagement and progress and time studied. So right now, like I put everyone's names in, I enter so that they can get their accounts kicked off. But just for that group right now, it's just me. But as we continue to add more and more groups, we're hoping to expand that.
And I noticed another question that somebody wants a demonstration. I don't think we're going to have time today to do that, but we certainly, I think you're from Iowa, you're not mine, but I'm happy to stay on after this is over and show you around a little bit. Or we can Dan can connect you with your rep in Iowa and set up a time, because to see the program, it really does take at least a good 30 minutes to really get it. The program it's wildly fantastic and endlessly engaging. So it just takes a little bit of a while to get that. I hope that's okay. And when this is over, we can talk about it some more, even offline if you want. How easy is it, Joyce and Melinda, for you? How easy is it to use? Tell us, please, a little bit about your setup, onboarding, the kind of support you receive, and what reports matter the most to y'all.
All right, so for our personal opinion is that EnGen is really easy to use. After my initial email each semester with Courtney is my person that I go to, I share the number of groups, the names that we would like to call them. They're called feature groups, like if I'm splitting it up by level or by class. And Courtney creates those. And honestly, all I have to do is log in, begin entering student names, their email addresses, and then EnGen sends a activation email. And especially for distance learning students, because I don't see them as often, once they create a password and begin, they can do it completely on their own. They may honestly, I can't think of any questions they have initially, except I didn't get the email, send the email again. And you can, easily click on send another reactivation email. But from that, they just begin, they answer questions, like after they create their password, and create their account, there's questions in the beginning. There is an assessment that the students can take that I encourage them to take, because then it will recommend lessons. But even if they just answer the initial questions, which is related to why they want to learn English or why they are creating an account, that helps to recommend lessons for them and kind of sets them off in the right direction. So from our lowest to highest levels, students work independently. We piloted EnGen without knowing how valuable it would be to students, because when we started it, our semester started in January, but we got the licenses, it was like mid-February. So I had already met with the distance learning students, and we didn't meet, in person all the time because it's self-paced and distance learning. So they really were on their own. And that's when we found the value of it, when they were so excited and asking, like, how long can they use it? Can they keep using it, when the semester ends? So we just got lots of great feedback. And as far as the support we receive, not making this up, it's totally outstanding. It's literally just emailing Courtney, and she pretty much resolves the issues, any questions that we have, that very day, mostly that very hour. So we're always thankful for that, because we do have, experience with other platforms, and it's just not always that easy. The data report that matters most to me, like I mentioned before, are the ones on engagement. I do look at the total time studied for each student, especially if you're in a program and you have to track the hours and report them. all of that is it's just so easy to use. You can literally customize, put in the dates that you want the hours, to get easy tracking of the hours. So another thing is like looking at it, there's a report where you can see like a bar graph of the engagement like for each month. And that's always helpful to me because just looking at for this semester, we had high engagement during the month of November, and that's when everyone's really trying to, complete their hours. So I look at that, and the total time studied, like I said, is important because I will reach out to students if I see that their time is low, just to see, what's going on in their lives, if they need, just a little bit of motivation. So all of those on engagement are what I like to focus on with the reports.
And remember, folks, you can use this both from a distance or from in a brick and mortar. I mean, it works in either situation, and it's it's flexible enough to do either or both.
Melinda and Joyce, when you're using EnGen, what are the roles of the administration, the instructors, and the learners? Now, of course, every program, their dynamic is going to be different, but at Chesterfield, how is that organized in terms of administration, instructors, and then, your learners?
Okay. Well, as Melinda mentioned earlier, we do use EnGen for distance learning only for the literacy level through levels 5 and 6. And because EnGen is such a user-friendly platform, students are able to navigate it almost instantly. So on the administration side, we are responsible for student onboarding, checking hours, and weekly student check-ins. The initial onboarding would consist at the time of intake. So we're setting the students up with the program, providing them with our program expectations, asking them what their expectations would be, as well as helping students create a personal goal and a personal plan. I think that's really the key piece in student success, is having them create that personal goal and that personal plan. Because of the ease of navigating the platform, as I mentioned, the role of the administrator has kind of shifted from to more of a facilitation and more of a student cheerleader role, because the students are motivated. Once they actually become familiar and get into working with EnGen, they're contacting us, telling us how much they love it, or what can we do with it, and how can I, how long can we use it? So we're really cheerleading them on and motivating them to just continue. So in the role of the learner, they have to really take an ownership of their learning by creating that plan and by advocating for themselves. And that we see that in every level, from literacy to level 5 and 6.
May I interject with a couple more questions from the audience? So Tracy says, Melinda, did you onboard students individually or as a group? She said that her students were so varied by level that it just seemed that they had to onboard individually, and she's just trying to figure out how to be most efficient.
Yes, so we did learn as we go along, as we went along. Initially, when we got the seats, I was just so excited that we had the seats, sent out the reactivation emails, and I was like, try it, before I had met with them and did like an actual orientation. So since then, even yes, with the varying levels with distance learning, it's all different levels. If you can set up a time, where you can meet in person or virtually and go through it step by step, that has been helpful just from the very beginning before they, start going way into it. But I think Gary mentioned this another time that we spoke, is that showing them the value of it from the beginning, kind of like to hook them, and then they'll get through, any hard parts that those lower levels may have of creating a password or something like that. But if you show them, how easy it is from the beginning to literally, once they answer the questions, they can just click on a recommended lesson and begin, then you can start to show them the other parts of like searching for a topic of interest or something like that, and the grammar and the pronunciation. But definitely, if you do have time to do like a mini orientation with them, that would be helpful. I didn't do that the first time though, just because of time and our semester had started and I was just so excited about it. But that definitely would be a best practice.
You have other questions, Dan?
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys continue. And then
Okay.
if we have some time, we'll try to get to the rest of them.
So Joyce touched on the question I'm about to ask a good bit. And just so those of you who don't know EnGen, one of the things that we keep dancing about the level of engagement is there are new lessons. It's the only software program, and I've been doing this over 20 years, that I've seen. I've never even seen anything like this in my life. There are new lessons brought in every single day from around the world. So when Melinda is talking about showing it to folks to hook them, look, I always say you can have the best program in the world, but if you can't engage them, then it just doesn't matter. And this program has a very high level of engagement. So the question I'm going to ask you, I think, again, Joyce has danced around, has really touched on this. How relevant have you and your students found the EnGen instructional content to be? How do your learners feel about it? And explain.
All right, well, I'll continue on with what Joyce was saying. Students and I, as well as teachers, have found EnGen instructional content to be relevant in so many ways. One thing, and we'll talk about it during the best practice, is showing students how to go to the search bar and search for lessons and topics that are meaningful to them. And we found that this is anything from mental health to managing employees, pronunciation, grammar. And of course, teachers look for current events, things happening around the world, with our diverse students, finding lessons that relate directly to their lives. Like there's ones on specific countries like Venezuela, or even, things happening in Ukraine and Israel. Our students are absolutely loving the content. And I don't mean to say that like, we keep saying, oh, we love EnGen, but you'll see in the feedback, and students can put whatever they want, positive or negative, and it's just always positive. I think it's that they're hungry to learn, and they actually can on this platform. So that's what makes them so excited about it.
Thank you, Melinda. And we've really touched quite a bit on, what steps you're doing at Chesterfield to engage and support those learners. And in the 4 years that I've been with New Readers Press, and I've been working primarily with EnGen and our EnGen customers, one aspect that just shines bright is that instructor support is the key to student engagement and success. And you all are doing a phenomenal job, like so many of our programs are doing. Could you give us some more examples of the incentives, some check-ins, or how you set those expectations and those learning milestones with your learners that, clearly we're seeing that success, you're seeing that success and that growth. So what's your secret sauce? What all are you doing here to cheerlead and to motivate those learners along their way? Because it's clearly working.
Thanks. Okay, so I did mention a little bit about having the students create personal goals and personal learning plans. Their voice and choice is essential. So keeping that as an option, and their open lines of communication. The last thing I will say on this topic is routine weekly check-ins. We routinely check in with our students on a weekly basis, the same day of the week, so that way the student is aware. On Fridays in the afternoon, you will be getting an email from us. We will be checking in with you. Thursday nights, we'll have our virtual check-ins. So they look forward to those things. So for an incentive, we in Chesterfield do offer a monetary incentive. So if students attend a certain number of classes, a certain number of hours, and they post-test, they are eligible to earn a coupon for 50% off of the following semester's tuition. That is a monetary incentive, and those students, we all want to save money where we can, but they're learning, they're taking their post-test, and they have that monetary incentive to look forward to. And then also, many of our students who are in levels 4 through 6 take advantage of co-enrollment opportunities that we have for them. So if they are enrolled in ESL classes, they have an opportunity to take workforce or GED classes at a reduced rate. And then some student milestones that we have. program-wide, we have something that we call a digital wall of fame, where we recognize our students that meet certain academic milestones, certain academic achievements. If they receive, we do assessments and tests, things like that. And if they receive 80% or higher on a certain number of assessments, we recognize them on our digital wall of fame. We provide them with certificates at the end of the semester and at the end of the school year. And Melinda, did you want to add something about the fall 2023 certificates?
Sure. So this actually is our distance learning program's final week. So they're coming in to post-test and completing their hours, completing it using EnGen, of course. So I just created like simple certificates, just off of MS Word, saying that they had excellence in distance learning, completing EnGen hours. And they were so excited to receive the certificates. We had to point that out, just like, like I said, a simple certificate to them goes a long way. So just that motivation. And when they were leaving with the certificates, they were like, I'm still going on EnGen. I was like, keep going. So that was one thing we wanted to share.
And then the last thing that I think we have found success with is really, even though our distance learning students are not in person, they're part of our learning community. So when we do things as a program, we have community action projects where our students can go out into the community and serve. We include our distance learning only students as a part of that. We have speaker series where people from the community come in and they talk to our students. They are also a part of that as well. So I think that's really how we reach success and how the students reach success.
So I've seen a couple things about cost and is it free? I mean, it's not free, but as Melinda said, we offer grants to get folks started if you qualify. Most programs qualify, many programs qualify. It's an easy grant application process. We're pretty good with sharing that money. We're a nonprofit, so we do like to spread the wealth when it makes sense. And the cost is $125. I mean, we're not here to try to hide it. It's $125 a license. The seats are all transferable. So if Courtney uses it for 3 months and then moves to California, Melinda can take that seat and fill it in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just to directly answer those questions, the next question I have for you all, and you all have touched on it a good bit already, is what best practices could you share at this stage of, since you've been using the program for a couple of years, what are some of your best practices?
Okay, well, I do have a couple slides on that. I know just because of time, I'll go through them quickly. This will let me. Like I had mentioned before, during onboarding, if you have the time to have a brief orientation with students, showing them how to navigate, how to, for the lower levels, create a password if they've never done that. This can be done in person or virtually. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, my thing is being weird. Okay. And then as Joyce mentioned, having them set a goal, I think is really important. There's a couple of templates that are here and ideas for goal setting, just to have a clear time in mind. The goal can be academic, career focused, personal goal, but then specifically like how much time that they're going to spend on EnGen. Sorry, I don't know why it doesn't let me do the arrow. Let me see if I could do that to go to the next one. Okay. And then we, as Joyce also mentioned, creating a schedule. There's some templates here so that students, sometimes that visual of, I go to work at this time, I eat at this time, and I'm working on EnGen at this time has been very helpful for students, especially the distance learning ones. We started a new mode of instruction this year with our evening program. So creating a learning space for students' independent or off-site work or working with a learning circle is always helpful. And we've also used a student accountability journal for students to kind of organize their time and their time that they will work on EnGen. More best practices would be, as Joyce mentioned, also to establish and maintain the communication through weekly emails. As Joyce was saying, we send a weekly email every Friday. We do virtual check-ins Thursday nights. And then if I don't hear from a student or I see that their engagement is low, following up with texts or phone calls as needed. There's some sample slides here of like initial meetup, and I will, change the slides with each virtual check-in. Sometimes it's just a conversation. It doesn't have to be anything long. Just how are you doing? What are you studying? Giving them ideas of what they can look up. But a lot of students on EnGen, they'll go to the search bar and look for what's happening in their lives right then and there, whether it's, for their job or personally. And then motivation. With the emails, I always put a motivational quote on it, and that's just a link to some ideas for quotes. They do go a long way, the emails, just keeping the students encouraged. I think that was it with the best practices.
That support system is so important. I know we're getting close at time. Dan, if you want me to stop, let me know. And if not, I'll just continue.
I will make one announcement and then I'll let you continue. So
Okay.
there are a number of questions we're not going to get to, but here's what I'll do. I'll take them all. I will reach out to Melinda and Joyce. I'll ask if they can help answer them. We'll answer the ones we can answer, and everyone will get answers to those questions in a follow-up message. So we are at time, but we're close to being finished. So Courtney, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Dan, are we allowed to stay an extra 5 or 10 minutes?
If anyone wants to stay, we're going to go ahead and get through the rest of our questions. Yes.
Okay. So you briefly touched a bit on, when you first started using EnGen, what number you were at and how many, how many learners were using EnGen initially. How many students do you have using EnGen now? And then the exciting part about where you see this going, your next steps and your opportunity for growth with EnGen at Chesterfield.
Well, as we said before, our initial mobile learning fund was for 50 seats. So right now we have over 100 accounts created. I do check the time on the students, the engagement, and I do remove and replace students if they're not engaged or just left our program just for personal or work reasons each semester, like we'll be doing soon. I'll begin to add and remove students. Since we have found the platform to be so successful and something students are asking for more access, and other teachers, of course, are hearing about it also, we plan to continue to add groups of students as our budget allows, hopefully increasing the number of seats each year to give access to more students.
I see some folks are checking out. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Those of you that are staying, thank you as well. The last question I have is, it obviously sounds like you plan to continue using it, and I think you've touched on all these, but maybe you have a little bit more to add. What are the top reasons you like us?
Okay, Melinda, do you mind putting on that slide
Yeah.
Slide 5? Okay, so basically it's we talked about this. The teachers that are engaged with EnGen love the ease of navigating the platform. New lessons all the time. That is really one of the key reasons why I think EnGen is so successful, and then the students are so engaged. They love to have the voice and choice of their own topics that they want to learn about. And let's just talk about money. The Mobile Learning Fund is definitely, it was a great pathway for us to begin to use EnGen. Okay.
Thank you. Last question here, and it seems repetitive. We've talked so much about that student feedback and the success with Chesterfield. Anything that we have forgotten to talk about with the students, and any we love learning testimonials. We love to hear about the students and their success stories. Any highlights that you would like to showcase at this time regarding student feedback?
Sure, we do have a couple slides on that. I won't read them all. This is feedback from our spring semester, but I did push out the survey just for this fall semester. So those I will let you read on your own. But the one I did want to highlight, so as Joyce was talking about how we do allow students to co-enroll in like a workforce class, but we are piloting next semester a behavioral health interpreter course. So we have a lot of our students who are on EnGen, and they're the ones that are searching for mental health and different things to help them with the course that they're about to take. So I'll just read this student who she has been on EnGen since the spring. And she says, EnGen is a complete, it is a complete program, flexible according to everyone's needs. Personally, this program helps me to feel more confident listening, writing, and reading. One of my next goals is to take a behavioral interpreter course, and EnGen has a lot of mental health classes. And at the same time that I'm learning English, I'm moving ahead with a specific vocabulary that I will need in order to complete my goal. Yes, I would like to continue using EnGen next semester. I'm not planning to stop and wait for the next semester. I will continue studying. And that's like word for word, that's a copy and paste from the survey. So yes, I just wanted to end with her words.
Gary, you want to close it up?
Sure. You're gonna get back to Elisa and Tracy on these questions, Dan?
Yes, I'm going to
right.
make sure that all the answers are answered in the questions are answered in the follow-up message. Yes.
Okay, great. Again, thanks everybody for your time, energy, and patience today. We really appreciate it. Melinda and Joyce, you don't have to do this, so we really, really appreciate you doing it. We have a fantastic relationship with these folks. They're just a spectacular program. So thanks again for your time today. Courtney is always willing to help everyone. And Dan organized the whole thing. So thank you, Dan. And I hope everyone has a happy, merry holiday filled with light, love, and laughter. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.